Welcome. Keeping it clear with Cody, Bowen. What month are we in? We're in October. Cody's here with me in studio. This is brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. So there's not enough good things to say about Loveland Safe Ride. Whether it's, the Stampede, it's every event around here. Any big event where alcohol's involved, Safe Ride's involved. Cody, tell them a little bit about it.
Safe Ride is something I've preached for years. I mean, it's a lifesaver. We'll never know the true impact that Loveland Safe Ride has put on our community to getting people home safe.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal program. Kevin Loveland started it, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Roughly 20 years ago. Volunteers from all over the county drive people home. Anyways, they drive people home. Move your lips while I'm talking.
Okay, there we go.
Anyways, this show it's a show about transparency, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the things that you preached during your campaign was transparency in Union County, and I think you've done a stellar job of that. We have a show once a month here where we field questions from a live, group of people out there in the cyber world.
Yep.
And I've never actually not asked a question that has been posed in the comments.
And that's part of the whole being transparent is, I was hesitant, nervous. A lot of folks said, are you sure you want to do that? But I have nothing to hide. And if I don't, like I said, don't know the answer, I'm not gonna fake my way through it. This show has been interactive and live, and questions that come through on the Facebook feed, we talk about, we answer. So, questions, concerns, whatever that looks like.
And so one of the things that has to happen when we do this live question and answer type thing is somebody's got to break the ice, right? We're always like in that limbo until the ice gets broken. Or I just sit here and ask you questions.
Right.
And I guess we'll start it off with this. How's things going?
Great. Honestly, as far as the sheriff's office goes and law enforcement in our community, it's going very well. We can always use more funding, of course. We can always use more deputies, more boots on the ground, more presence. That's a battle I feel I'll be fighting for a long time. But morale within the county, within the office is all-time high for sure. Yeah.
All-time high.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out who made a sad face already. Landy Seal is sad about something. Landy, what are you sad about? We can answer.
Lay it out there.
So with the sheriff's department, what's the big thing on your plate right now? What's happening out there?
The big thing is always funding. How am I going to find more money? How are we going to find more grants? The grant pool, as it's at times felt like it's dried up. I got a text message from a lieutenant a while ago, and we fell short on another grant. So I mean, that's what that boils down to me. That money boils down to people, boils down to funding, providing a service to the community that I'm dead set on providing. And without those people, it's hard to do. So funding is always a concern.
Landy Seal responded.
Oh, what'd she say?
My thumb slipped. I took it away. LOL. The old thumb slipper. That's awesome.
I've always said if I'm not pissing somebody off, I'm not doing my job, because I try really hard to be a people pleaser and keep people happy. But at the end of the day, I got to go with who I am as a person. And sometimes folks don't always agree with that. The days of having a different opinion than somebody else, and sometimes that turns into heartfelt sentiments, and people just don't flat get along over difference of opinion sometimes. So, but I'll keep trying.
All right, let's hit this question real quick, and then I'll let you introduce our guest.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll have him join us.
All right.
Crystal McDermott wants to know, how old do you have to be for a ride-along?
16. 16 we established for a ride-along, and that's basically just for safety precautions. 16. We encourage it, as soon as you turn 16, come on up. Anybody that we can introduce to law enforcement, anybody that is interested in it, or even parents have called to help correct some behavior in some of their teenage children. A ride along gives a real good eye opener to not just kids but adults as well. Come up, ride along, see what we actually do, see how law enforcement interacts with members of the community, and it's an eye opener. It really is, because I mean we're just people out there doing a job. So.
Speaking of younger people getting involved in law enforcement, you brought a guest with you today.
I did, yes. Back in the campaign, I said I was going to start a cadet program, and we started that program along with bringing the reserves back, and we have one of our cadets here today, Tristan Brown, that's going to come in and talk to us. So.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and right after that, we will be here with Tristan Brown from the cadet program. This is all brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. It's I mean, one of the hugest things that's ever happened to this county when it comes to life-saving measures, and we, like Cody said, we don't even know how many lives it's saved, right?
No.
It's crazy. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, a show about transparency. It's a live, interactive show where you can ask questions. Cody brought a guest. I'll let Cody talk about him.
Yeah, so this young man sitting next to me is Tristan Brown. Tristan Brown has been interested in law enforcement since he was about
16, 17.
17, quite a while. He's been a face in our department for the last, well, I'm going to say few years. I met you about 3 years ago.
Yep.
So when we started the cadet program, when we brought that back, Tristan was excited to come on board and join the team. Went through a series of testing, went through some background checks, went through in-house academy, same academy that we put our reserves through. Our full-time, or our, should I say reserves, but our someone that's over 21 that's eligible to pack a gun, if you will.
So like the same program that like Justin and
Yes.
Whitty.
Yep.
But not the police academy.
Not the police academy, correct.
Roger.
Yep. In-house academy is what we call it. It took about 6 months.
Maybe a little longer?
Maybe a little longer, yeah, somewhere right around there. But it basically is just they learn all the ins and outs of law enforcement, and it kind of gives them an idea if this is something that they're interested in pursuing. You know, it opens their eyes to it, or it steers them away down a different field, down a different path. But yeah.
Yep.
Let's ask him a couple questions, and then I got questions coming in.
Okay.
How do you like it?
Dude, I love it. It's a lot of fun just to get out there and ride around with different deputies and interact with the community. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Who drives the fastest?
Should I answer that question?
I don't know. It's about transparency. I mean, you can just lay it on him.
Yeah.
That'd be the easiest.
Let me rephrase. Who do you feel most comfortable riding with?
Everybody. I love them all.
What's your favorite part?
My favorite part, honestly, just interacting with the community, getting out there and being able to talk to people, whether it's for a call or just doing foot patrol, like a football game or something like that. I love getting out there and talking to people. I don't like just sitting in the car all day and not having anything to do. So getting out there and talking with people is probably the best part.
What's your biggest challenge so far?
My biggest challenge?
Yeah, like what's a challenging part of what you do?
I don't know. I haven't really found a huge challenge in that yet. Maybe time management, trying to balance, doing volunteer cadet stuff and, like working full time and doing all that stuff.
So moving forward, is law enforcement something in the future?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. I'm leaving for the Air Force here in November, and I've told almost all the deputies I plan on coming back and trying to get on with the sheriff's office if they'll have me. So
nice. Good. Let's move to a couple of these questions. Mike Hassel. Cody, he wants you to talk about Measure 114. He says there's too many ads supporting it. I have always thought you could do more with training than legal restrictions.
Sure. I would agree with that. Measure 114, in a nutshell, what that's going to do is that's going to immediately remove patrol officers and deputies from the streets. And what they're going to require us to do is basically provide a second background check. So if somebody wants to buy a firearm now, they already go through a background check. And we have a very stringent background process.
Oregon's is pretty tough.
Yeah, pretty much across the board. What they're wanting us to do with Measure 114 proposes is that we do an additional background check. And there's nothing else that we can find. There's nothing more. There's nothing added onto it. And then what it's going to require before anybody can go buy a firearm is that you have that background check done, and then you also have a firearms training class. A training class.
That sounds like California.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's the more training, the better. I mean, we're always training. I don't think you can train enough when it comes to firearms use. But for the state of Oregon to say that you cannot purchase a firearm unless you do X, Y, and Z, that's a hard no for me. Our United States Constitution, for one, the state of Oregon Constitution, for two, Second Amendment right is our right to keep and bear arms. Not saying that you have to do it for this, you have to do it for that, or to qualify for it. We qualify it by being born right here in the United States of America.
Yeah, that's a tough one to.
There's a lot to 114. There really is. I think, in my opinion of it, our nation is trying to do the right thing. And this is one of those feel-good measures that I think people's hearts were in the right place, but there's no funding allocated to it. There's no real plan of how it's going to be enacted. The magazine capacity limitations, all pistols, all handguns now are manufactured to carry more than 10 rounds, for the most part, unless it's a compact gun. So saying that you can't possess something that has 10 rounds or more, the Second Amendment isn't about hunting. The Second Amendment isn't about out target shooting. The Second Amendment was very well defined and put in place for citizens of the United States to protect themselves, to take over, if you will, if needed, or tyrannical government. I mean, that's what it's for. So when that day comes, if we keep going in the direction that we're going, I want as many bullets as I can possibly have. I want responsible gun ownership within our community that's going to stand shoulder to shoulder with me. I don't think restricting law-abiding citizens is saving children's lives. I don't think it's preventing gun violence by any means whatsoever. A recent statement from the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. All 36 sheriffs across the state of Oregon are on the same page. Measure 114 is something that is it's a feel-good bill. It's not a good idea, and it will not help with any type of violence. In fact, it's going to cause more violence within our communities. So
yeah, when you were talking about the background checks in Oregon, they are very stringent. I have a friend who was a Benton County sheriff. Every time he bought a gun, we're talking about a cop here.
Yeah.
He was on a 1-month wait list just because of his name.
Sure. Yeah.
And I mean, that,
Yeah.
people that say, oh, we don't do a good job. I mean, I think Oregon does a pretty good job of
they do.
background checks.
We're barking up the wrong tree. I mean, this falls back on mental health. This falls back on parenting. Responsible gun ownership starts in the home. And I'm sorry, but no matter how many laws we pass or restrictions that we pass on gun ownership, it's not going to take the guns out of the hands of the criminals. It's just flat not going to. You look at Portland. There's a shooting every day. There's gun violence down there every day. Flash back a couple years when they had their excuse me, I forget what it was called, but their gun teams in place when law enforcement was going around specifically looking for, felon in possession of a weapon, looking for illegal guns, that type of stuff. That was working. Flash forward to now, I mean, there's no consequences. There's nobody. Checks and balances we've got to have.
Mike says, thanks, Cody. We'll move on to the next question. And we knew this question was coming. This is coming from Sean Macy. He wants me to ask you about the deadly pills found at Central Elementary and why the charges seem so minimal. A different result could have killed many kids due to the parents of one. Kids have a tendency to pass things out.
Absolutely. 100%. This is one of the more scarier calls that I received. First off, I want to say LeGrand School District, from the student to the staff, did everything right. There was nothing that they could have done to make this go any better or any safer for anybody involved in that situation. The student have obviously been talked to about drugs, whether that's in school, whether that's in the home, wherever that is. But
Thank God.
Absolutely. The student knew something didn't belong. And it's still an active investigation, so I can't speak too much on it. But what I will tell you is that immediately went to a teacher, to a staff member. That staff member did exactly what they were supposed to do. Contacted their administration. Our administration contacted us, and we had the pills under control. What scares me about this is that another student that maybe not familiar with it or didn't know what it was got a hold of it. That many pills, that's the same thing as bringing a bomb into the school as far as I'm concerned. We could have lost a lot of lives just like that, simply off of that getting passed around or somebody not knowing what it was. Fentanyl has killed children. We made a huge deal across this nation about, I'm going to say the evil word, but COVID. The awareness and the fight that was put out there to do something about this or to push back or to wear a mask or get vaccinated, but yet how many children actually died from COVID? I'm going to say a handful across the nation, across the world. For that incident right there, for that to happen, the state of Oregon has lost focus as far as I'm concerned. And when it comes to the pills, fentanyl is a killer. And it's killing people, it's killing adults, it's killing children. Addiction in itself is a killer. We need to focus on bringing back some consequences, because I can guarantee you that amount of pills that was brought in, let's just say let's say there were 40 pills in that pill container. If I catch a person out on the street with 40 fentanyl pills in their pocket, it's an e-violation. It's a $100 fine for the state of Oregon.
Wow.
You call into a treatment center, sorry, we don't have any beds, because, oh, that's right, Measure 110 was supposed to provide more services, more beds. That was the big selling point on it, right? They haven't built one new bed.
Well, and it's
They won't.
wintertime, too.
Yeah.
Wintertime, try to find a
Sure.
bed at a rehab during the winter.
Yeah.
It's impossible, because the reality of it is homeless people that have drug addictions flock to rehabs during the winter because it's warm.
Absolutely, yeah. And consequences-wise, that falls back on the state of Oregon. That's the state of Oregon's idea of let's don't incarcerate people. Let's not fill up our prisons or whatnot. Which I'm just dumbfounded at. But that being said, there's no consequences for it. So we have lost the consequence of if I overdose, I'm going to die, or if I get some bad drugs, I'm going to die, because that doesn't exist anymore. Every single Narcan is everywhere, and when we go to these homes, when we see these people, they have the fentanyl in one pocket, they have the Narcan in the other pocket. There's no consequence of dying, if you will, and then you combine that with the fact that there's no consequences now from our judicial system. Holy moly! I know when I was a kid and I didn't have consequences, I ran amok. You know, we need structure, even as adults. We need somebody to say, no, that's not okay, and these are the consequences for your choice. But I'll get off that.
Yeah. We could go on all night.
All night
you know,
long.
I can go off on some fentanyl and
Absolutely.
Narcan and all that. Crystal McDermott says, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Absolutely.
Sean Macy says, thanks, scary as hell. Mike Hassel says, it's voluntary, not court directed. No, I think it is court directed, right? Like the seeking rehab, you can have your $100 fine dropped, right?
Correct. Yep. All you have to do is reach out to a treatment center, let the judge know that, hey, I called, they don't have any way to help me. Okay. Problem solved.
Tristan, have you had any encounters with fentanyl?
I've been to a few drug overdoses just before I was even a cadet. Just riding around and, you know, seeing some of the deputies bring people back from overdosing with Narcan. So
Scary, huh?
yeah.
It's real.
There were 2 of them in one night actually with fentanyl. So
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Very
a killer.
real.
And
Yeah.
the crazy thing is you hear stories. People are like to the point now where they're getting a better high if they overdose and then take. You know what I mean? Like really, like. And I say this all the time. I almost feel like it's a lack of natural selection, and that's being really like kind of frumpy. But like in my eyes, it's like, dude, like in my head, if I know something's gonna kill me, now granted, I mean I'm fat and I eat stuff that's unhealthy, and so that's kind of the same thing. But it's not like I know this pill, you know, I don't know exactly what's in it and it could kill me.
Right.
I'm not taking it, dude.
Right.
Like, I'm just not doing it. You know what I mean? But when you're in addiction, on the other hand, which I know a lot about, you know what I mean? I quit drinking almost 4 years ago for a reason. Yeah. And sometimes you just don't have any control over that, dude. And that's real. I mean,
I agree. The addiction is part of it. You know, the mental health addiction, the drugs, the crime, it all goes hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, it seems like. And addiction is something that has been, I'm very frustrated. You know, we have, people want to get clean. People want to get help. And they knock on the door and somebody doesn't answer. And that's a problem, you know. Some folks it takes, you know, over and over and over again, you know, they relapse. This community that we live in, it's a small community. So I was just talking to a young man today. He got out of jail, and 6 hours later, he's right back in that circle. He just can't get away from it, you know. I want to go. I want to move. I want to do something. Okay, I've heard that before. But to those that are truly wanting to seek help, Oregon's a joke. Absolute joke.
Yeah, I mean, I know for me personally, when I was ready to stop drinking, everything fell into place. Like I was at my rock bottom, right? Yeah. And that's where you have to be.
Right.
Like to truly stop, you have to hit your rock bottom.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, some people's rock bottom is death. Some people's rock bottom is jail. A lot of people that I know that have hard drug addictions, methamphetamines, heroin, fentanyl, they'll come straight up and tell you that they can't get clean without doing time.
Sure.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
be locked up. I mean,
And some of those people that's what saved their life. You know, that consequence of sitting there for 4 or 5 years and recognizing what have I done with my life up to this point. And then not only that, but just being locked up isn't the answer. But developing skills within that, having programs within those prisons or those jails where they can give these, you know, like CTE programs, give them the tools that they need to succeed. You know, because when you get out there, you're right back on your own again.
right.
You know?
Right.
Right on your own.
Which is super scary.
Yeah.
Benny Sweet and Low says it's crazy that someone who gets a speeding ticket for driving 100 miles an hour is 10 times more than a drug charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely crazy. You run a stop sign, Benny. It's more than it is for a pocket full of fentanyl right now in the state of Oregon.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
People, this is a live interactive show. We field your questions. We're here. We're going to sit here for about an hour and we'll take questions. Cody will answer them. We have Tristan here with us, and we'll talk a little bit more to Tristan when we come back. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back after this.
Want to keep yourself informed with relevant news and events in Eastern Oregon but don't have much time on your hands? Well, here on EO Live, we pay attention to what's happening in Eastern Oregon and deliver the news in 2 minutes or less on our evening news roundup. You can expect to get your news delivered right to your Facebook and Instagram feed every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. We'll keep you in tune with Eastern Oregon, and you can count on that. EO Live, your connection to Eastern Oregon, now on Roku.
Welcome back, Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, a live interactive show on transparency for the Union County Sheriff's Office and your sheriff, Cody Bowen. We're joined by Cadet Tristan Brown. We're waiting on questions. I'll ask some more questions while we're waiting. Cody, so when we talk about like funding, where's it lacking the most? Like are we still on the whole we need the jail redone thing? I mean, because that's a pretty
it's still a major issue. You know, I have a hard time asking for money. The school bond that just went through, I'm a taxpayer myself, as the rest of us in here, but we're taxed to the gills right now with inflation, with gas, going to the grocery store. My goodness. So I have a hard time asking, for any type of levy, any type of bond, anything like that. But ultimately, I don't know where else I'm going to get the funding from. The county only has so much money based off of the tax base. Unless we get, 1,000 new homes in here, or 10 new businesses, within Union County in the next year or so, that's where that funding comes from. So, there's only so much of this pot that can be taken from. The jail is a very unique thing. It's the only thing that the county funds that's, has to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It takes a staffing of 4 deputies. If we have bookings coming in, we have 1 deputy taking care of that. If we have courtroom stuff going on, we have a deputy taking them back and forth to the courts. We have transport that happens weekly, and then the unforeseen stuff. And then we have a deputy that needs to remain in the control room, and then we have a deputy that needs to remain on the floor checking everything. So there's at times we have two deputies in there, and our facility is from the 70s. It's very outdated. We are getting some ARPA funding to help with that, to help with our control board, to help with some door locks, that type of stuff that'll make it a little bit more user friendly. But ultimately, funding, if there was this never-ending stream of it, I'd be right in the middle of it trying to get my hands on it. But it all comes down to that. Yeah.
Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, brought to you by Loveland Safe Ride. That program, like I said, every time. We can't say enough good things about what Kevin Loveland and Loveland Funeral Home does during big events in Union County. They give people rides home. I mean, it's that simple. And it saves people from taking a chance at getting behind the wheel, not only DUIs, but lives.
Absolutely.
And it's a stellar program. It's something that Kevin should be really proud of.
Yeah, and he is, and he'll be the last one to, he's not the kind of guy to gloat in anything by any means, but, that program is an effort from many businesses within this community. Every car dealership here that will donate a vehicle, donate the vehicle. Then he has volunteers that donate their time, that stay up all night. And you know as well as I do, there's nothing worse than being sober and riding next home to the guy that's drunk. Because they're just oh, it was a great time. Oh, the rodeo was great. And you're like, I just want to get you home, man.
I have to drive Johnny around when he comes into town. And that's a mess. That's a hot mess, Cody.
Yeah.
Aaron Wallace, I hope I pronounced that. There's only one R, so it might be Aaron, but says consequences are very important, even for non-criminals. Let's all go out and vote this November. Mike Hassel says, can Cody mention Measure 112's impact on prisoner work programs?
Yeah, Measure 112 is, and if there was ever such a thing as a feel-good bill, this is it. Measure 112 wants to remove the word slavery. Somewhere along the lines, somebody has concocted this idea that when people go to prison, they're enslaved and they're doing slave labor. What it is that, work crew, for instance, somebody's on probation and they get their probation revoked because they've broken the law again or they haven't followed the rules of their probation. Probation officer can sentence them, or I don't want to say sentence them, but order them to do work crew. Provides a community service within the community, whether that's shoveling snow in the winter, whether that's splitting wood, whether that's picking up trash, whatever that looks like.
Mowing the grass.
Mowing the grass, absolutely, yeah, taking care of that. So that necessarily won't be affected because that's something that can be ordered. But when it comes to voluntary jobs within the jail, inmates, people in custody want to do that voluntary stuff. They want to cook the food. They want to do the mopping. They want to do that. Number one, because it gives them a little bit of sanity back. Gives them
breaks the monotony.
Breaks the monotony. Gets them out. Also, what that does is it gives them good time. There's no such thing as slave labor. I don't have work camps out there. I could have every person in that jail right now put on a pair of boots and take them outside and said, you're all going to go mow the lawn today. I could do that as a sheriff. Do that. I don't do that. That's not something. Everything that we have is voluntary. So it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that's absolutely a waste of time in my eyes.
Nice. We got a question coming in for Tristan. Ariana Gray wants to know, why'd you choose law enforcement?
Like I said earlier, interacting with the community is a big part of it and helping people out. But I'd say family and friends that have struggled with addiction, whether that be with drugs or alcoholism. Just seeing how that affects relationships firsthand and themselves kind of just pushed me to get out there and help out. So
that's the type of stuff that I love. I mean, I've come across these kids, and some other deputies met Tristan before I did. But we have kids in our community that are direct recipients of this neglect or this lack of structure, and not saying that Tristan was by any means, but we have kids in our community that have identified, that they want to do something for their community, they want to give back. They're doing it right there every day on a daily basis with their interactions with the other kids in school, with how they behave and whatnot. These are the type of kids that I really wanted to go after, people that would be beneficial to our community. People that we need to retain here so they don't turn 18, graduate high school, or 17, 18, 19, 20. They can't get into law enforcement because they're not 21 yet. So everybody says no, 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 and then we lose them. They're gone. Right. They find some other career, they find some other life passage, whatever that looks like. But the cadet program was really with the idea of being able to retain some of these young individuals to keep them in our community. Number one, because they love the community, because it's home to them. They're very familiar with the community members. They recognize people that they're out on the street with, and more importantly, community recognizes them. So retention for these young individuals is a big catalyst for our cadet program to keep people in our community.
All right, Cody Vela says, if we can see Measure 110 get repealed, will you have the resources you need to get our drug problem under control while working with local departments? Will we need a bigger jail? Will you need more deputies? Another K-9 unit?
So I am living for the day that Measure 110 is repealed. To answer your question, Cody, absolutely not. It is going to be Our hands have been tied for the last couple of years with Measure 110. We have not had the tools, we haven't had the funding, we haven't had the ability to provide a service to the members of the community to hold people accountable, whatever that looks like. But as far as drug use wise, absolutely, we will not have the amount of staffing needed. We will not have. We were just discussing this less than 48 hours ago with my jail lieutenant. We will not have the space to find these drugs, arrest these people, put them in jail, and then let's just say for some reason our judicial system actually works and they hold them instead of kicking them out 24 hours later, then no, we will not have the space. We're at max capacity, most of the time. We have 36, I think we have 34 in there right now. Max capacity is 38 when we're really crowding stuff. No, we absolutely will not have that. Not only that, but if we don't get some funding to go along with this, I'm either going to have to, cut back the capacity of the jail, so take it down to 20. If we don't do that, I'm going to have to take patrol deputies off of the road, providing that presence. I'm going to have to put them in the jail to work. It's a perfect storm right now as far as if there's ever a time that the state of Oregon kick over some funding and support law enforcement, now is the time.
Mike Hassel says, thanks, Kevin Loveland, for Safe Ride. Absolutely. So let me reiterate this to the people that are watching. It's a show on transparency. You can make comments all you want. I'm not going to read comments. If you have a question, I'll read the question to Cody and we'll answer it to the best of our ability. He'll answer it to the best of his ability. Brett Moulton would like to know if there's any kind of 3 strikes you're out for people with drugs. And he says, great job, Cody, by the way.
Thank you. No, there's not when it comes to drugs. Our streets and our jails are riddled with repeat offenders.
Yeah.
Addiction is addiction, and it takes years and years and years of being in front of a judge over and over and over again, trying. The judges, they do their best to keep people out of prison, to keep them out of jail. Because ultimately, we want to see these people succeed. And I get that, but by the time we're 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 offenses deep, we need to have some accountability. It seems like it's a revolving door. The folks that are in our jail, they're in our jail obviously for a reason. They need to be held accountable. It's frustrating when they're not. We do our job out there on the streets. We try and solve that problem, take that person away from whatever's going on, hold them accountable, then we put them in jail, and but before we get our reports done, sometimes they're right back out on the street, based off of the statutes, based off of what sometimes the judge's hands are tied. Most of the time the judge's hands are tied as far as how long they can keep them in there. And it is frustrating, it really is.
A lot of frequent flyers.
A lot of frequent flyers, yeah.
Transparency is the key here.
Yeah.
I mean, so in the last few weeks, we've noticed an uptick in break-ins and theft. Mm-hmm. What have you seen? I mean, what are we doing there?
Well, I can tell you that the thefts and the break-ins are tied hand in hand with addiction. I mean, they can't get employed. Even a lot of employers don't do drug testing anymore because they just flat can't find somebody if they say there's a drug test involved. You got to have money to buy the drugs. If you can't have employment, you're going to look for opportunities to get money. So, you leave your car unlocked, parked on the side of the road, and somebody's going to try the handle. Somebody's going to walk by, somebody's going to see it, somebody's going to be cold, somebody's going to be, I want a place to stay, I want a place to go, there's a car. Oh, there's the keys on the floor. They're going to take it. They're going to steal it. They're going to sell it. We had a theft that took place out in the valley. One of our local farmers that his vehicle was parked clear back out of sight, out of nowhere, and they found it. The keys were in it, had some gas in it. The idea of don't lock your doors and don't lock your cars, it just doesn't exist anymore. It's frustrating. But what I will say is we have, and I haven't spoke to you since the last time that when we had the robbery out in Island City, excuse me,
Oh, yeah,
muzzleloaders
yeah.
and more. I wanted to bring that up just because that was, the type of crime that we're seeing. With no consequences for any of these actions, the criminals, if you will, or the crimes become more brazen. They become more in your face, more real. We had a break into a store, then we had suspects fleeing from the gun store. Shots were being
Shooting
fired.
at cops.
There was one of my deputies who was in pursuit of this vehicle was shot at from the rear, from the car in front of him, like you see on the movies.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Disabled his vehicle.
Disabled, shot it right through the front. Yeah, took out the oil cooler and the radiator, and thank God nobody got shot. But the type of stuff that we're seeing is extremely it's uncommon for our area.
Right.
We don't see and granted, those people weren't from our area. They were from out of town and heard of an opportunity, saw an opportunity, and it was. Something they capitalized on. But that being said, what I saw that night with just the local citizenry, the local members of our community, we are very fortunate to live in the area that we live because we have a lot of law enforcement support. We have a lot of people that are willing to drop everything and do it. And when I say drop everything, when I pulled up on scene out there, shortly after the guys had crashed the car, after terrorizing everybody, they took off running. There was citizens of the community that were on the side of the road. They had their their informative little command post thing going, talking to their neighbors, whatnot. I had guys with armor with long guns that were I'm right behind you.
Wow, what?
No, wait. Yes, but no. Okay, I'm gonna go. This is no kidding. Somebody said this to me. I'm gonna go sit up on that hill. I'm gonna get a good rest, and I watch your back. Okay, man. If somebody's coming to kill me, you bet. Smoke them. Thank you. Absolutely. Preservation of life. So I mean, that being said, and then the amount of involvement with folks out there in North County, and it started right here in local, but we had all the support in the world. We totally uprooted some people's lives that night with that event. I say we, but the bad guys did. People couldn't get home. They couldn't feed their animals. They couldn't shut their water off. We parked every vehicle that we had right in the front yard of this folks' home, and we had generators going and noise and everything. And I mean, they didn't absolutely take what you need. Opened up the gate. You can park in the back field. Whatever you need. And that's the type of things that I see. Not all over the place. I see a lot of folks it's more of an inconvenience when law enforcement shows up. Rather here in Union County, Sheriff, how can I help you? Man, I tell you, I wouldn't trade that for the world.
Right. Jim Mullerstrom wants to know, and I don't understand this question, maybe you will.
Okay.
What is current out county expenses in the budget?
Current out county expenses.
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by out county.
That's where I kind of got lost too. Out of county? Like, what are we sending out of the county? Budget-wise?
As far as
Jim, if you're watching...
Yeah. Big Mo, as far as my budget goes, all of my stuff is in-house. I have a little over $4 million budget. 2 of that goes to patrol, 2 of it goes to corrections, and we do the best we have with what we can. We did receive some ARPA funding to replace some vehicles. However, we still have yet to see those vehicles show up. So we're doing the best we can as far as budget-wise with vehicle maintenance, that type of stuff. Fuel has been a big concern as far as budget-wise, along with vehicle maintenance. Our problem is that we can shut the vehicles down, we can park them, but then our crime rate goes up. If we're not out there, if we're not being seen, if we're, it's amazing how much just a police car driving through your neighborhood gets people. Maybe I'll think twice before I do something dumb. So it costs money, but.
Right. The biggest deterrent to crime is
presence. Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
Like somebody's doing dope on the corner of the road, they aren't going to do it if a cop's right there. Right? Well, they might.
Yeah.
It is.
Nowadays, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
You're
yeah.
But the chances go down.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping it clear with Cody Bowen. Live question and answer on transparency. We're going to go about 10, 15 more minutes. If you have questions, get them in now. I'll ask the next question. And we talk about this every show. Any news on Max Square? Like everybody talks about it, and I think that it's our biggest public safety concern in Union County? No.
Right.
I don't. I think mental health and drugs are our two biggest concerns for public safety in our county and our city.
Absolutely.
But is Max Square a direct play off of that?
For sure.
Absolutely. You got mental health, you got drug addiction, and Max Square falls right in line, with that. Is there
the acceptance of it? The acceptance of I don't know about you, but for me to go down and sit on the street corner and smoke and drink and not take a bath, personally, I wouldn't be able to do that myself. I would be embarrassed. I wouldn't be able to do it. What I see is it's been so normalized and so socially acceptable, especially in the greater metropolis Portland. It's a common thing to whereas we've adjusted our laws to cater to it. Loitering is now considered camping in the state of Oregon. We can't boot somebody off the side of the street for camping. The amount of folks that we have here locally, the majority of them choose this lifestyle. 9 out of 10 of them choose that lifestyle. The thing that bothers me is the feel-good things about taking care of our homeless and whatnot. This is a lifestyle that people have chosen. You can't change my mind on that. This is a lifestyle that people have chosen, whether that's choices that they've made in their lives that have led to that direction. But once they're in that situation, there's very few people that want to leave that situation. We have people right here that have apartments right up the road, but they choose to spend all day at Max Square, drinking, influencing our kids. I was at one of our gas stations a couple weeks ago. I saw a young man hand an older gentleman. I knew this young man from school, knew who he was, knew him very well, and he handed the older gentleman some money, and I read his lips. And for those of you that don't know, I'm deaf, so I'm a very good lip reader, so the mask thing really deterred my ability to communicate, but it specifically said, Coors Light, tall boy. I follow the gentleman into the store. He walks right over, grabs the Coors Light tall boy 6-pack, walks up to the counter, and I tap him on the shoulder, and I said, what are you doing? Well, I'm buying some beer. I said, I just watched him give you money, ask for Coors Light tall boys. I said, if you buy that beer and take that outside, I'm going to take you to jail. I said, I don't know what for yet. I said, I'm going to find out a reason for that. But that type of glamorization for those young men to have that ability to say, oh, well, I can get beer right here. I got my buddies. They think it's all right. It's a lifestyle that's appealing to some folks because, unfortunately, they haven't had something else to look up to or someone else to take care of them. So I don't... The homeless issue is a big concern. I feel terrible for the business owners downtown. I feel terrible for the people that pull into our town, coming in off of 84 to the first exit. You look over LeGrand. It's absolutely beautiful. You come down through town, and the first thing you see when you stop at that stoplight is a bunch of people, a bunch of bums sitting right there, drinking, smoking, have their stuff scattered all over, broken glass, whatever that looks like. It's terrible. It's not bringing people into our community. People come to this community because we're not like that side of the state. What do we do to fix that? Honestly, we're going to have to just get to a point where we hold people accountable when we say enough's enough. They'll find a place to live. They're going to go back to the home thinking when that behavior is no longer accepted, it gets adjusted. The business owners downtown, I recently received a letter from a group of business owners that, some folks might not be aware of it, but Max Square was fundraised by a group of businesses, a group of private entities, raised all the money for that, and then they gifted it to the city. Okay, so the city was with the idea of keep it responsible, let's have our Christmas tree, all that type of stuff. Well, then the city hands are tied. When I say city, I mean law enforcement. Their hands are tied with being able to mitigate, what goes on down there. So they've been working hard. I know I spoke with Chief Bell about this just a couple days ago, and they're finding avenues to clean it up. And I've noticed in the last few days, it might just be the weather, because same thing with people magically find a place to live when the weather gets cold. But they're working on it, for sure.
I always thought, couldn't we just cut off all the power and all the internet in the area? I mean, because I know the library gives free internet.
Right, Wi-Fi, yeah.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a password. Mm-hmm. You can just hop on their internet.
Yeah.
I've heard they shut it off at night, but couldn't we just make it to where there was no power, no internet? Then people wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't think. I mean, they ain't hanging out there because it's like the cool place to hang out. They're hanging out there because there's places to plug their stuff in, and there's internet access.
It's convenient and it's accessible and it's accepted.
Right.
You know, you make it unaccessible, you make that behavior unacceptable, and
inconvenience
them, and it goes away.
Because when we were kids, there was homeless people.
For sure.
They did not hang out. They were embarrassed. They lived out behind the baseball field.
Absolutely.
In the field.
Yep.
Because it wasn't you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't.
Right.
But now it's just people, I don't know the answer.
I don't either. And people blame it on politics. They'll blame it on one way or the other. You know, we just have to get back to the timeout era didn't work. Okay. the not holding people accountable or letting them decide, if they want to be, and I'm going to get some kickback from this, but if you're 6 years old and let them decide if they want to be a boy or a girl, we can't do that. This is completely dismantling our nation, and it all starts at home.
Sean Macy wants to know, what can we do about old, broke down trailers living on Highway 203 and other highways? Seen them many times a week for weeks at a time.
Yeah, I've come across that same thing, and not necessarily trailers. I've seen those, but interacting with the state of Oregon with people living under the bridges. The hoops that, just say the local manager here for ODOT, if you will, what they have to do to get that person, and they call it evicted now from under the bridge, is absolutely ridiculous. And they have to post a big sign for, I think, 30 days saying that we're going to come to, and then an additional 30 days. And then they're responsible for cleaning up all the trash and everything that they leave if they do actually get them out from underneath that place. But what can we do about it? We can call, we can talk, we can not just drive by with a blind eye. You can call the police. You can call, especially if it's on a state highway, you can call our office. We'll get you to the Oregon State Police Dispatch. A trooper will go out there, somebody will talk to them, and the squeaky wheel gets greased. So we can't just look away and say, it's not my problem, because it is our problem. It's right in the lap of all of us.
Yeah. Last call for questions. Keeping It Clear with Cody Bowen, show live, interactive on transparency for Union County Sheriff's Office, and we'll give it about 5 more minutes. And if you have any more questions for Cody, for Union County Sheriff, for Tristan here, shoot them in now, and we'll answer them. What's a positive thing that's happening for Union County Sheriff's?
I'll tell you, a positive thing right now, we've got something going on with LeGrand School District. We have, as you know, I was a DARE instructor for a long time. Deputy Humphreys is a DARE instructor. Deputy Hamilton is a DARE instructor. Yep. And the DARE program across the state is kind of, again, fell kind of by the wayside. There's not a lot of interest in it. It doesn't speak to some of the problems. They took the marijuana portion out of it, the education on marijuana, because now marijuana is legal, so they don't like us talking about it as far as instructors. So Deputy Hernandez, School Resource Officer for the Grand School District, has taken initiative to develop a new program. And that program is going to take the place of DARE, but what it's going to do is it's going to be taught through the grade schools, the middle school, and the high school. And it's going to be a little bit more of a 5-week program compared to a 10-week program, and it's going to focus on being your best you, teaching kids how to be the best version of you. And there's another acronym for it, which is cadet, but I can't remember what all the letters mean, so I got a brand new final draft. One of the teachers, one of the counselors, I believe Teresa Dowdy at Central School, one of the counselors who was formerly at the high school, she's been working really hard with that. Scott Carpenter at the district office. It's kind of been a collaboration of taking everything from DARE and molding into something that is more site specific for our local region, for our kids, for some of the stuff that they're going to see in life or have seen, and how to deal with it, how to cope with it, and still going to have a lot of a lot of the stuff that Dare had in it, so it'll be a very similar program. But what's most important about it to me is that it kind of reaches a little bit more aspect. Dare was just for 5th grade classes. That's all we taught it to. There was a high school program, but it was very. I wouldn't have walked into a high school classroom with that curriculum and expected them to learn anything, let alone buy into it. Deputy Hernandez is, from guest visitors, from former addicts, from the criminal element, if you will, incorporated some of them into some of his classes for the older kids. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited about we had our new sticker scheme put on one of our newer Tahoes. I'm really excited about that. I've got nothing but positive feedback from that. If you haven't seen that, it's basically, it's got the American flag, the thin American flag going up the side with a thin blue line element to that, with "In God We Trust" up the side of it, and it's just our patch, that sticker scheme. I'm really excited about that. So once we get some new vehicles, we'll be seeing that out there a little bit more.
All right, we're gonna field one more question. Actually, we'll field 2 more questions, but first, your flannel, the Dixon flannel.
The Dixon flannel.
That had to have been a Tish thing.
No, actually, you want to know who that was?
Who was that?
That was Darren Goodman, the athletic director at LeGrand High School.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Mr. Fashion Central.
I was going to say.
He turned me on.
I knew it wasn't
yes.
you.
No.
As soon as I saw it, I'm thinking, Tish must have hooked him up with this Dixon.
Yeah, there's a couple other deputies that are getting these now, but every month they come out with a new flannel. This one happens to be the Freddy Krueger.
I like that one.
Yeah, so it's very.
Look. I thought for sure it was your wife, but
Seasoned,
I've seen Goodman with one on before.
Yeah.
So now I get it. Sean Brown wants to know, how important was it to Tristan to see resource officers at his school?
I mean, pretty important. I mean, that's the main reason I got on with the cadet program.
Who was out there? Humphreys?
Mr. Humphreys, T. Hump. Yeah.
Oh, I like
Yep. Yeah, he was out there, just always walking around the hallways, talking to us, just hanging out with us in class or at lunch, and just kind of talking about the sheriff's office, just being a presence, But yeah, I mean, I went on my first ride along with him, did some of my senior project with him, like everything. So
He's been in that chair before.
He has. Yeah, we've had him there.
We sweated him down.
Yeah.
Last question, and then we're going to get out of here for the night. Ariana Gray wants to know, what does the future hold for the Cadet Reserve Program?
The more cadets that we can get, the better the program's going to be, obviously. It seems duh saying that, but yeah. The cadet program is something that I plan to carry on and keep going. We're losing Tristan. We have 2 other young men in the cadet program right now. One's about to turn 21, and in fact, I believe that we just gave him a conditional job offer.
You should get like a special patch on your uniform if you've gone through the cadet, if you came all the way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a little, it doesn't have to be anything like super, like stand out. It's just like a little,
that's, we talked about that because when these guys are out on the road, the cadets, this is the standard uniform. That's what they wear. But the reserves, we put them through the academy and stuff too. And we talked about having, insignia stating that I'm a cadet or I'm a reserve. And we kind of came across the idea of when we go out to some of these situations, I don't want Mr. Rough and Tough guy singling out somebody or coming at that guy or throwing questions at that guy. When they see us, I want them to see a unit. I want them to see a team, a family of there's 2 law enforcement officers.
No, I'm talking about like when he becomes an actual deputy.
I got you. Like a badge of honor.
A badge of honor, yeah.
Like we can stamp it in his chest.
I started with the cadet program.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little,
That's
like
cool.
just an insignia, not necessarily anything that sticks out, but just something to show people that Tristan started here in Union County as a cadet.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea.
I wouldn't want to point him out to people. Yeah,
right.
no.
Well, and the majority of us in the office right now, we all started in the reserve program. Not I don't say all of us, but the majority of us started as a reserve or corrections deputy or corrections reserve.
That's awesome.
You're getting your feet wet and getting into that program and finding out you love it. I mean, it's a thankless job, but
big time. Big time.
Yeah.
And it was never cut out for me because I have no filter. and I wouldn't be able to just remain quiet.
Yeah.
And I would probably get myself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's times for it.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Well, you don't have much of a filter either.
I'm learning to keep to think before I speak.
Yeah. Seek to be
yeah.
seek to understand before you seek to be understood.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff that I would say that I don't understand, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm passionate about. And sometimes that passion comes through.
Absolutely.
Rather than being politically correct.
It's hard for it not to. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Yeah.
All right, to everybody watching, thank you. Thank you to Union County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Bowen, Tristan Brown, Loveland Safe Ride. We just hammer it home how much they do for this community. I remember Eastern Oregon Beer Fest, right? Yeah. I'm a designated driver for my friends. I don't drink. But I walk outside, and there's the Loveland car, and there's two cops. It's like, get in the Loveland car.
Exactly.
I mean, you shouldn't even have to have the cops there to be influenced into the Loveland car.
Right.
It's free.
Right.
It doesn't cost a penny. All you have to do, and I heard somebody say, oh, well, the inconvenience of coming back and getting my car tomorrow. Well, $10,000 or killing somebody is way more of an inconvenience than coming back to get your car.
Absolutely.
Loveland Safe Rides. Everybody that tuned in for this, we appreciate it. We do it once a month. Cody and I sit down. We bring on different guests. We talk about transparency with the Union County Sheriff's Office, and Cody does a great job of explaining stuff. It's sponsored by Loveland Safe Ride. We'll see you in a month. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in.